Hi, everybody. I'm Richard Sher, and it's time to square off. Let's welcome this week's super panel, Baltimore's talk show host extraordinaire, Jimmy Mathis, Tarsha Fitzgerald, one of the great media specialists in our town, and attorneys, former Baltimore Orioles bat boy from the 1960s, Bob Sher, and of course, the Square Off original panelist, who's been with us almost all 41 years, the unbelievably extraordinary Billy Murphy. All right. Good to see you all, as always. So President-elect Donald Trump makes a victor's return to the White House. This was on Wednesday for a meeting with President Joe Biden. Trump committing to a smooth transition of power as the president-elect moves quickly, understatement, quickly, to build his new administration. Biden saying to Trump, congratulations. Trump responding, thank you very much. Politics is tough, and it is in many cases not a very nice world. But it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. Before meeting with Biden, Trump and Elon Musk met White House Republicans, during which he endorsed Mike Johnson to remain in the Speaker's chair. Jimmy, what do you think about what's going on over there?
What's going on? He's putting together his cabinet. He's got roughly 8 weeks. Republicans now control the House and the Senate for the cabinet positions. He's going to need the Senate to confirm these positions. So we'll see how quick it may take for the Senate to break with the president on some of these names he's throwing out there, most notably Gates. I like the fact that he went with Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. Trump and Rubio haven't agreed on everything all the time. This is, I think, Trump humbling himself a little bit. I love the Elon Musk. It's not a cabinet position, but involving him in the administration will bring some sort of accountability. Look, you're not going to agree with everything that President-elect Trump is doing, but I think generally speaking, it's been some good picks.
Well, let me say this. The president-elect has been moving at warp speed to pick his cabinet. The biggest shocker, you mentioned it, Trump's nominating Florida Representative Matt Gaetz for the Attorney General of the United States. Gaetz is one of the House's top flamethrowers and grandstanders who himself has been under investigation by the Chamber's Ethics Committee. One senior Republican says the Gaetz decision is an absolute gut punch. Tarsha, what are your thoughts?
Well, definitely Gaetz is the worst pick. I mean, we're setting ourselves up for 4 years of chaos. I mean, he's right now being under investigation, ethics about apparently, with that 17-year-old young lady. So, I mean, Trump right now is looking for all yes men. So Gaetz can be his yes men and execute his agenda of being of retaliation and revenge.
Bobby Sher.
Well, I think the president's feeling his oats. And I think at this point, he's testing the Congress. He wants to see if he has any guardrails. Now, his Senate Majority Leader candidate did not win. So we'll see if John Thune restricts some of these appointments. Now, the Matt Gaetz appointment, I think, is a distraction. I think Trump, by putting him forth, I think he knows he's not going to pass. And he may pass. I mean, these members of the Senate may give in on everything. So he's got nothing to lose. But if he doesn't pass, it's a distraction, because if they knock Gaetz out, they're not going to knock any of these other people out. If they have the guts to knock one out, they're not going to test Trump twice, and he gets everybody else in.
Let me say this, and then we want to hear from you, Bill. They have called recess appointments. Now, this does not require Senate confirmation. As long as the Senate is out on leave or wherever they happen to be, the president can approve on his own. He can appoint any federal official as long as the U.S. Senate is in recess. So that's the way around it. Billy, we haven't heard from you.
Well, I agree that this is a test of how much power he really is going to be able to wield over both houses of Congress, because he does want to be a dictator, and as soon as he can accomplish rolling over people and scaring people to death into doing something as outrageous as appointing a Matt Gaetz, he'll know that he has total power, and then he'll start to wield it. So I think this is a test of his power, and it's deliberate. And I think Republicans are going to knuckle under.
I agree with Bob.
Because he is going to apply as much leverage as he believes he has to get his way about everything, because he is narcissistic. And you depend on narcissists to do that. Gaetz is a perfect candidate for him.
Hold on, Jimmy.
Because he has Gaetz by the gonads. He can prosecute Gaetz. He can unleash the dogs on Gaetz. And Gaetz knows it. He knows that Trump's friendships are all transactional and conditional. And so he knows there's no loyalty there. He too has got narcissistic tendencies, and he's happy to be in the job, even though it'll maybe his last one.
Right.
So he's prepared to be obedient, and he's going to be the perfect yes man for Trump.
All right, go ahead, Jimmy.
I agree with Bob. I think the Gaetz thing is a distraction right now. I defended President Obama on his cabinet selections when it was under a lot of scrutiny. At the end of the day, within reason, the cabinet serves at the pleasure of the president. And for the most part, generally speaking, the confirmation in the Senate has been a rubber stamp. You talk about people, Trump just finding yes men. I disagree. Rubio is far from that. Rubio was just advocating on Capitol Hill, trying to give the Senate some checks and balances with America withdrawing out of NATO, which Trump has been very, very vocal about. So I don't think Trump is necessarily just looking for yes men. I do, however, believe that the president's cabinet serves at the pleasure of the president. For the most part, the decision on who his cabinet is going to be should be at his discretion. And that's why in the past, generally speaking, I think there's only 8 or 9 examples where the Senate has not confirmed a cabinet position. Generally, they rubber stamp it. But I agree with Bob. I think that the Gaetz thing is really just a distraction. And if they do make an issue out of him, you're right, Bob. Everything else is going to basically have to get rubber stamped. Keep in mind, Gaetz isn't even in the House anymore. He stepped down on Thursday, which means this investigation basically goes away. So it's very interesting times in Washington, D.C.
Well, there are guys on both, and ladies on both sides of the aisle, who want to hear what's in the Gaetz report. But as you know, if you've been watching and following this on Square Off and on the news, Donald Trump and Matt Gaetz are fierce critics of the Justice Department after being investigated. And on Wednesday, as Jimmy mentioned, Gaetz resigned from Congress after Trump named him Attorney General. He was the subject, as Tarsha mentioned, of a federal sex trafficking probe that ended without charges, which were dropped after Gaetz resigned. But there are serious bipartisan objections to Gaetz's nomination. Tarsha, what's your reaction?
Like I said, Trump wants his cabinet to be fully committed to execute his agenda of his revenge and retaliation. Gaetz right now is the most controversial. He's going to be his yes man. He just, as many has just mentioned, he's just as much as a narcissist as Trump is. So Trump is a dictator, and he wants all the rest of his people to be just like him, to execute his mission of 4 years of chaos.
This is what's frightening. This is what's frightening. What Trump wants to do, and if it's not going to be Gaetz, it's going to be somebody like him. What he wants to do is, start in the House, which is now Republican again, is going to call for investigations of all the people on the enemies list. You watch. Liz Cheney, Nancy Pelosi, the whole list of them are going to be investigated. They're going to be told to come and they're going to be subpoenaed to bring documents. When they don't bring them, they're going to be contempt charges. And the Attorney General's office, the U.S., who appoints all the U.S. attorneys in the country, are then going to start prosecuting like they did with Steve Bannon. If you are on the January 6th committee, you are in trouble. Liz Cheney is in trouble. Nancy Pelosi is in trouble, etc.
Hold on, Jimmy.
Out of this for 1 second, guys. This is going back to the mid-2000s. You really cannot dispute the fact that the Department of Justice has been weaponized and has totally transformed and becoming just a political arm. So whatever side of the aisle that you are on, and this is through Trump, Obama, and it goes on and on and on, the DOJ needs to be blown up, all right? So I'm not saying Gates is the guy to do it, but the Department of Justice has been absolutely weaponized in Washington, D.C., and as far as I'm concerned, has lost all credibility.
When we come back, we're going to take a short break. We're going to talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, he's taking over Health and Human Services, and we'll have to see. That's a controversial nomination. Right now, here's the voice of Square Off, who never loses. Big winner, Howard Mallison. Howard?
Well, thank you, Richard. You know, it amazes me how crazy people drive on these high-speed roads these days, weaving in and out of lanes. It's no wonder there's so many accidents. Well, Leading Edge Auto Body and Mechanical Repair want you to know that the insurance companies cannot tell you where to take your car. Check out their reviews on Yelp and their 5-star reviews on Google. Leading Edge works on all makes and models and offers free pickup and delivery anywhere in the Baltimore area. Give them a call at 410-433-6433 or visit them at 5807 Falls Road in the heart of Mount Washington. They make your car look and run like new again.
That is true. Very true.
And without a
By
doubt,
the way, go ahead.
And without a doubt, Baltimore is one of the best, if not the best, diner towns in the country. And the most popular and award-winning of them all are the Double T Diners. TT means totally terrific.
That's right.
For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, the Double T menu offers you so many choices, you're going to want to order everything. But save room for dessert. Their desserts are phenomenal. With locations on Route 40 West, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Annapolis, Pasadena, and the EC Diner in Ellicott City, plus Monday nights, our lobster night at By the Docks in Middle River, all part of the Double T family. Back to you, Richard.
Hey, speaking of Leading Edge, as Howard mentioned, you do not have to do what your insurance company tells you to do. Take your damaged cars to Leading Edge. See Jeff Siegel there. They're fabulous. I can assure you that. All right, Billy, we're going to come to you in a minute to have you respond to another of Trump's controversial nominations. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vaccine skeptic, to lead the Department of Health and Human Services, including the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Food and Drug Administration, and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, plus others. Trump says Kennedy will end the chronic disease epidemic and will make America great and healthy again. Billy, what do you think about this?
Well, Robert Kennedy is a little bit crazy compared to Trump. Trump's very crazy. And Kennedy's craziness goes a little bit beyond the vaccine issue. It goes into his personal life in terms of how he views various things that have offended decent people in America. On the other hand, Kennedy believes in pure food, and so he's not going to weaken the FDA oversight of the quality of our food in America, which is going down. If anything, he might strengthen it. He's not going to eliminate food labels. That's a good thing. And he's going to be pro preventive health. So those are good things. I can't say anything good about Trump like that because Jimmy made a false equivalency that this is just like what the Democrats did. No, we're interested in prosecuting people for real crimes, not imaginary crimes. And we are not, we were not led by someone as crazy as Donald Trump, who is a pathological liar and utterly lacks character of any kind. And so we're not going to see the kinds of limits that decent people would put on the exercise of power. I predict that within 18 months, 2 years, this is going to be an actual dictatorship.
All right, Jimmy.
Yeah.
You mentioned your name. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Can I respond? Okay.
Yes.
You want to know what a dictator looks like? It's when you have Eric Holder and the DOJ going after 20 reporters on Capitol Hill wiretapping their phones. Billy, that is what a dictator looks like.
No,
Richard,
it's not. No, you haven't seen dictatorship until you look at someone who is going to be a Putin or a Hitler.
You're talking about recess
Billy, hold it down.
That's what Obama ran through. Here's the thing. As far as Kennedy, okay, Health and Human Services, why don't we call crazy what crazy is? That's Fauci. People losing their jobs because they didn't want to take a vaccine that the government was mandating. At the end of the day, it was turned out to be a complete lie and joke, crippling a global economy. All right, that's crazy. That's what a dictator looks like. That's what people are upset about right now. Even Billy that much. It sounds like a great pick for that department.
All
right. Go ahead, Bobby.
Bobby Kennedy is a distraction. Trump could care less about health and human services. He cares about these intelligence committees or cabinet posts. He cares about Tulsi Gabbard. We're talking about Bobby Kennedy so that we don't have to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. He doesn't care about Kennedy. He owes Kennedy a favor because Kennedy endorsed him, and he's throwing him a bone. He doesn't care if he gets confirmed or not. He knows that Kennedy offered his services to the Democrats who turned down Bobby Kennedy. So he's throwing this bone out. It makes no sense for Trump to hire a anti-vax guy when the vaccine was discovered by Trump. Trump's the one that brought the vaccines and takes credit for it. Bobby Kennedy is a distraction so that the other people get nominated and appointed.
They're all distractions, aren't they? They're all distractions, allegedly.
But there's certain ones he wants. He don't care about. He knows Matt Gaetz isn't getting confirmed. And if Matt Gaetz gets confirmed, he's won the lottery, Trump, and he really knows how powerful he is if he can get that guy through. So he's a distraction. Kennedy's a distraction, and the other appointments are not distractions. And they don't have the guts, the senators, if they don't appoint and confirm those two people, Trump knows everybody else will get confirmed. That's what it's all about.
All right, other Trump cabinet choices, ladies and gentlemen, and we appreciate your being here on Square Off. Our audience, thankfully, continues to grow every week, and we appreciate you telling your friends that you're watching us on squareoff.net. Now, other Trump cabinet choices: Marco Rubio, Secretary of State; former Immigration and Customs Enforcement head Tom Homan; border czar, former Congresswoman and 2020 Democratic presidential candidate Tulsi Gabbard; National Intelligence Director; and Fox News host Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary. Billy, why are you laughing?
Because it's laughable. These people are not even remotely qualified for these jobs. They utterly lack depth. They utterly lack sophistication. They believe in ideology rather than the practicality that it is required to be at the head of any of those agencies. You can't solve problems with ideology. You solve problems by coming up with solutions that work. And ideology is a distraction from that. And so I think it's beyond outrageous that Trump is putting people that utterly lack qualifications for the job. I mean, to be the head of the CIA or any of our intelligence services requires such depth of knowledge. It's not even funny.
But isn't it funny?
People don't even come close.
Billy, isn't it?
He doesn't have one black or one minority. He has not.
We'll get to that in a minute because it's going to be basically an all-white administration and mostly male.
You know, Pete Hegseth was the first one he nominated, and everybody scratched their head. How can this guy be the one he picks? All of a sudden, 48 hours later, Pete Hegseth looks like Dwight Eisenhower compared to the other people. And that's what I mean by the distractions. It makes the other guys look pretty good.
Including Rubio.
Who are that?
Rubio's legitimate. He's the only one. And Mike Huckabee. They're the two ones.
Israel. Okay. I think Huckabee was a good pick. I think that caught a lot of people.
I don't have a problem with Huckabee.
One at a time, please. One at a time.
And I think Marco Rubio caught a lot of people by surprise. If you remember, going back to I guess it was '08. Rubio was fast tracked to be the next Reagan within the Republican Party. He got tied up in the Gang of Eight committee, immigration with President Obama. That kind of derailed him. Very tough times between Trump and Rubio back in 2016. But I think at the end of the day, Rubio was a good pick for Secretary of State. I think he will be good at diplomacy. It's a good face for America on the world stage. And I think it caught a lot of people by surprise.
Okay.
You know why he picked Rubio? Because he doesn't care about Secretary of State either. Okay. He is looking for the one he cares about the most are the intelligence cabinet posts and the attorney general. That's where he can enact his retribution. That's what he cares about. That's where he needs his loyalty. Marco Rubio is going to run around the country for the next 4 years, out of the way. And Trump, I mean, he's the one pick, but the others are distractions.
Secretary of State is an unimportant job in American politics. I mean, it's almost laughable, Bob. I mean, it's Secretary.
I know. Secretary of State's the most important.
About?
Secretary of State is the most important, but I think, from what I've read and what I've heard, I think to Trump, it is the least important. Okay. It's the most important, I think, because he is the face of the country, of our country, traveling around the world. But to Trump, he's the least important.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Billy, we're coming back to you after we hear from Howard. Thanks, Billy. Here is the voice of Square Off once again, who's already been approved, his nomination. Howard, you have won your confirmation.
And I approve of this message.
Speak, please.
The law firm of Barry Glazer specializes in personal injury, medical malpractice, and nursing home neglect. His creative TV commercials have made him a very recognizable person, so much so that you can't walk down the street without people coming up and thanking him for telling it like it is. Barry and his team have an in-house doctor and nurse on staff. In fact, you should call Barry before you call the insurance company. His clients will tell you that Barry gets you more compensation than you ever expected. He's that good. Give the law firm of Barry Glazer a call at 410-547-8568 and let them know you heard about him on Square Off. The Ravens' quest for a Super Bowl, I don't know. They got a real good shot at it, even though they're got a tough game this Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But what a better way to watch the game than going to Pappas sports bars and restaurants. You can dine in the sports bar surrounded by more big screen TVs than you can imagine, or you can have a gourmet meal in the dining room section of Pappas. Either way, you can enjoy the award-winning Pappas crab cake, imperial crab, and much, much more. Plus, they ship crab cakes all over the country. And yes, Oprah gets her crab cake shipped there from there all the time. At Pappas, you'll enjoy a dining experience second to none. Tell them Richard sent you for the fabulous
Fab cakes.
There you go. There you go.
Hey,
back
when you
to
go
you,
into
Richard.
Pappas, find Justin if you can. Tell him you're a Square Off viewer. It's important to us and important to them. All right, folks, here's a quote from Matthew Bartlett. He's a GOP strategist and appointee under Trump's very first administration. Quote, "We went from some solid picks to some interesting wild cards, to some that are more than controversial. No way confirmable. This is Trump, as Bob mentioned, Trump daring the U.S. Senate, potentially usurping the U.S. Senate and going to try to put people in place through, as I mentioned earlier, recess appointments when the president appoints a federal official while the Senate's out on leave or wherever. So we're in for a constitutional crisis from the very start of Trump's second term as president of the United States." Billy,
that's what I've been saying.
Go ahead.
I agree with that statement 100%. This is a power play like we have never seen in the history of America. Trump has all three levels of power. He has the executive branch, the Congress, and he has the judiciary.
And immunity, remember, Supreme Court also.
Let them finish.
That's it, the judiciary. And so this is his quest to be what he said he's going to be, a dictator from day one. And he's already started. And if we don't see this for what it is, shame on us. Then we're bringing about that which those who advocate it deserve. And I'm not interested in castigating anybody. This is a warning to America that, look, you got somebody who's going to be himself a wild card throughout this entire presidency and do things that no president has ever attempted to do, and he will get away with it. Shame on us.
And the Democrats.
And by the way, one last thing. What's going to happen when he lets all the prisoners out from January the 6th?
Right.
What lesson will that be?
The Democrats only have themselves to blame. They really blew an opportunity here. People are fed up with Trump. Apparently not enough because he won. But my point is, Joe Biden, as far as I'm concerned, Joe Biden caused this.
No, the whole party.
Well,
hold on.
He made a promise. Wait a minute. Let me just finish.
Let Bob finish, then Jimmy.
Biden made a promise when he ran the first time that he was going to be a one-term president. So he broke his promise. There was no primaries, where there was a primary, but nobody ran. And the Democrats got what they want. They got Biden. And look what happened. Yeah. He is the one responsible. And there were mistakes that Kamala Harris made, but she didn't have time to run a campaign. And there were a lot of mistakes made. But I blame Biden 100%.
I'm sure you do, because that's the easy scapegoat. And that takes the focus away from a failed party with no vision and no real compass. The party's too busy worried about men participating in women's sports and shoving transgender issues down their children's throats and open borders and record inflation and lawlessness. And I mean, that's the problem with the party, okay? That it stands for nothing. There is no practicality, no pragmatism in it at all. Talk about ripping apart the Constitution. I watched Obama for 8 years circumvent the Constitution, going to the high court, saying, you don't like it, sue me, talking about recess appointments, our relationship with Israel, the spark that was Putin reconstructing the former Soviet Union, our largest Arab ally over in Egypt. You people are out of your mind. You can't figure out why Trump is president right now.
It's Tarsha's turn.
Creating the Constitution when he hasn't even been sworn in. It's why he won the popular vote. It's why, other than New York and California, your party is dead.
All right, Jimmy. Tarsha, and everybody let Tarsha get her point of view out. Go ahead.
My key question here is, the black men and the Latinos did a shift, and they shift to Trump. But now when he announces cabinet nominations, not one black man was on the cabinet nomination. And all the black men that decided to do the shift to Trump, I want to know what they feel like now. Because we're about to have 4 years of destruction. We're about to have 4 years. This guy has retaliation. He's going to seek revenge. He's got his yes men that's going to follow behind him. And we had a good opportunity to really change the world. I cried that whole day and night. I cried. You have a felon that's going to run America for 4 years. What happened to getting a background check? He has 34? What is it? Yes. 34?
Well, look at Jimmy, what you said, I agree with. Joe Biden, first thing he did when he was elected was dismantle every executive order that protected the border. That if Trump's name was on it, Biden wanted to get rid of it. That's what he did immediately. We had open borders for 4 years, and people were fed up with it. Biden's dealing with Israel. He played both sides and irritated both sides. He did not protect Israel. On the one hand, he said he protected them, and then he tied their hands. That's not going to happen anymore. The woke policies of transgender, of giving money to prisoners, all this kind of stuff, people have had enough of. The Democrats have done this. Biden has to go down in history. I thought Jimmy Carter was the worst president. He was until Biden. Biden is horrible. And when Kamala Harris was asked one simple question, she committed political malpractice because she should have been prepared for that answer. You can't go out and say, I'm the candidate for change. And they say, well, okay, you're for change. How are you different than Biden? She says, I'm not. You can't expect to win.
Well, yeah, all that's.
Hold it, Jimmy.
I find it very difficult to disagree with much of that because what was missing was, credibility on a lot of issues. For example, on the economy, you can't say that the economy is getting better for people who know over and over again that it's not. It may have been fundamentally stronger, but that fundamental strength had not trickled down to the people who needed it the most. And so you lose credibility when you say the economy is fine. And when working people know from just the price problems that that's not the case. Second, we have to pay attention to people who are working people, even if they are racist. And we have a long tradition of racism that's been unrebutted in America. Right. But that doesn't mean you turn your back on their problems, because you'll never win them over if you do. And one of the things that Obama was very smart about was he actually reached out to them in a real way. That's why he got 2 terms. And if you ignore working people because simply because they're racist, and you ignore the serious problems that they share with all Black people and Latinos, and you don't try to rebuild that coalition of working people who know what's in their self-interest, you're going to keep losing.
Hold on, because Jimmy, stop. We're over our time, but we're going to extend it just a little. I'm going to go around to each of you, and I want in a sentence to tell our large audience your feelings about 4 years of Donald Trump. And make these one sentences, please. Let's start with Tarsha.
4 years of chaos with Donald Trump, president-elect.
Jimmy Mathis.
I'm excited. I think we're going to see inflation come down. The American people have spoken. He won the popular vote. He ran on one thing, which is people feel like they're being taken advantage of and getting screwed by their government. And that's where his support comes from. I'm excited about the next 4 years.
Billy Murphy, your thoughts?
4 years of racism, white supremacy, reoppression of women, and dictatorship of the worst kind. He's going to fundamentally change America forever.
And Bob Sher.
I think Trump's going to be the most powerful president in the history of this country, because not only is he filling the cabinet with loyalists, he's got the House, he's got the Senate, he's got the Supreme Court, and he's got immunity.
All right. Listen, this is really a wonderful show. You guys did great, and our audience enjoyed it. If you'd like to write us a letter, go to squareoff.net, click on Contact Us, send us a letter. We're going to start reading some of these letters on the show. Well, it was an enjoyable get-together. Tarsha, we want to thank you, of course. Billy, always. Bobby, I'm sorry to call you Bobby. Still think we're boyfriends. And Jimmy Mathis. And we will see you next time with a brand new, fresh show. Next time, and once again, we square off. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.